As Democrats pursue an impeachment inquiry following the president's phone conversations with his counterpart in Ukraine, the controversy is also shining light on Vice President Joe Biden.
As we previously discussed, Hunter Biden appears to have benefited from his father's position in the vice presidency. But according to new reporting by the Intercept's D.C. bureau chief, Ryan Grim, it wasn't just Hunter Biden who cashed in on the former vice president's career. Ryan joins us now to explain more. Great to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
What do we know? Like, what are the facts here? Because it shouldn't be this confusing, but apparently it is for a lot of people.
Well, we know a ton because Joe Biden has been in public.
Right.
Since, 1972 is when he was elected to the Senate, but before that he was a councilman back in Delaware. So people have been covering him and his family for 40 years. And so Joe Biden's elected in 1972. 1973, his campaign manager, his little brother, James Biden, opens up a club in Wilmington with what the papers at the time called extremely favorable loans. So it's just starting very small
That's junior
level,
level stuff,
right?
penny ante stuff.
Yeah.
He gets these great loans with no collateral. Of course, the club doesn't do well. Joe Biden ends up calling the bank, complaining about the way that they're harassing his brother for the debt collection. And then Joe Biden even says publicly, well, I don't even know why the bank would make such dumb loans that are without collateral that are so hard to get back. So the local paper investigated, and 3 sources at the bank said, "Oh, it's because he was Biden's brother. That's why we gave him the loans."
Right.
Biden's brother then becomes a lobbyist in the 80s, representing tobacco attorneys. While Joe Biden is a key senator on this giant tobacco settlement and legislation.
Wow.
Hunter Biden graduates in 1996. Immediately goes to work for where? MBNA. People who are a little bit too young might not remember, they were the credit card company in this country. They've since been absorbed by Bank of America.
Right.
But at the time, they were pushing for bankruptcy reform so that people couldn't discharge medical debts, couldn't discharge credit card debts, private student loans. And they make him a senior vice president. So Hunter Biden then serves till 2001, goes and becomes a lobbyist, federal lobbyist, while his dad is a senator.
A very powerful senator.
He's getting earmarks. His firm is representing University of Delaware, paying the firm millions of dollars. University of Delaware is getting tens of millions of dollars in earmarks. And that whole time, he's still getting paid $100,000 a year as a consultant for MBNA.
Wow.
Who knows what he's doing? Biden is leading the push on bankruptcy reform. He finally gets bankruptcy reform enacted in 2005. And then Hunter Biden's consultancy ends in 2005. And actually, after 2005 is when you see the student loan crisis really take off.
Right.
And
it was this loan.
In this legislation, they said, well, you can't really discharge private student loans anymore. And so private student loans
exploded.
Wow.
And I mean, and that you haven't even touched on the Ukraine and China.
Oh, we haven't.
You only stopped in 2005.
So then Joe Biden runs for president, right? 2000. He's
2008.
He's gearing up to run for president, and so he tells his son, according to some reporting at the time, look, can you do something other than be a federal lobbyist? Like, that doesn't really look that great for me. And according to a business partner that ended up filing a complaint after things went sour with him and Hunter and James, Joe Biden called him and said, can you help my son, get into like some investing, some private equity, something that's not federal lobbying. And so Hunter and James and this guy take over this firm called Paradigm Global Advisors. And in one of the first meetings, according to the Politico magazine, James Biden and Hunter Biden and Beau Biden are all there, and they tell the officials there, hey, look, don't worry about clients. We have people lined up who want to invest in Joe Biden, and they're going to give us their money. Now, Hunter and James Biden say that that's not true, but the Politico magazine had a ton of different sources saying that this is exactly what the guy said.
This was the Biden Inc. story.
This is Biden. So this is James Biden and Hunter Biden getting together in business. Business, of course, explodes. They get involved with Sanford, the Ponzi scheme guy. It's just a complete mess. And so now we're into 2008, 2009. He teams up with John Kerry's stepson to form another private equity firm. And when he gets the offer to be on Burisma's board, this is the Ukrainian gas company, Chris Hines tells him, look, man, don't do this. Looks terrible.
Bad look.
What are you doing? Ukrainian natural gas firm? Your dad is overseeing Ukrainian policy. Right now, he's the vice president. Why do you think? And Biden's like, Hunter Biden says I'm going to do it anyway. They slap Hunter Biden's face on the front of the website,
right. Yep.
$50,000 a month.
Yep.
During this $50,000 a month escapade, he's also going on a crack binge, going in and out of rehab, while he's still getting paid.
Right.
Like, that's an amazing job.
Which is exactly, what Joe Biden stands for in his architecting of the criminal justice system, is for, young people to be given $50,000 jobs while they're,
A month.
Yeah.
Yeah, while they're literally in Skid Row, scoring crack. He got caught because he left his crack pipe in his rental car.
Right.
Yeah,
and he put his car keys in the fuel tank.
And just to be clear, I mean,
Yeah.
look, Sagar and I are sort of on different places in terms of drugs, but this is a public health issue. I'm not trying to shame Hunter Biden, but the level of hypocrisy between the treatment of a son of privilege versus how your average person, especially your average person of color, is treated for drug use is incredibly stark.
Right, it's what they'd call enabling in the recovery world.
Yeah.
And we didn't even
Indeed.
get into China, where he and
we haven't touched it.
where they fly on official business. Hunter and Joe
On
Biden
Air Force Two.
fly on official business to China, and Hunter Biden introduces his father to his Chinese business partner, who is in the process of setting up an investment fund that is going to do facial recognition so they can surveil Muslims as part of their cultural genocide. And the idea that you shouldn't be able to talk about this?
Right. Now, this reporting is all like Breitbart, it's Rudy Giuliani, right? This is just in the fringes that this is being reported.
Well, mostly, what's the Newark paper, the Wilmington paper,
Yeah.
Politico magazine,
New York Times.
Washington Post has done some great coverage on this.
So Ryan, I mean, no one's going to accuse you of being a right-wing toady. Why do you care about this? Why should people care?
Yeah.
Well, so look, if this were the general election, and it's a terrible corrupt Democrat against a terrible corrupt fascist, then okay, maybe you focus your energy on criticizing the fascist. We're in the primary. They haven't chosen their nominee yet. Somebody replied to me. They said, "Look, man, at least 60% of elected Democrats probably have this type of soft corruption in their background."
Yeah, that's the
Well,
problem.
then maybe pick from that other 40%.
Right.
You're not duty bound to nominate the soft corrupt person. You don't have to. There's a choice to be made right now. You can go to the ballot box and you can pick somebody else if you want. If you think that this is fine, and also just strategically, do you think that American people are going to be cool with just business as usual again? Or do you think Trump's more likely to be like, look, the Bidens are corrupt, the Clintons were corrupt, sure, maybe I'm a little bit corrupt, but at least, I do X, Y, Z. And then he just throws enough sand in the gears that he stumbles to another non-loss.
Last, very quick. The problem is it's not just Biden that gets tarred in this, because when Elizabeth Warren gets asked and she doesn't have an answer, when we ask Congressman Ted Lieu and he says there's nothing to see here, the whole party ends up looking like hypocrites.
Yeah, they look like clowns. Because it is tricky. Okay, and Elizabeth Warren's stumble on this was like, well, does your plan bar your vice president's son from doing it? And I think she's like, well, yeah. Well, then she's like, well, no, I'm not
and
sure.
then the campaign said no.
Right, because how do you it's very tough to write that law. Because Hunter Biden acts like a kid, but he's actually a grown man.
He's a grown man,
he's
right?
An adult.
I think a New York Times reporter called him a child, going after a child. Wow.
And he doesn't have any professional connection.
Yeah.
He's not in the employ of the administration. Now, you could, I'm sure, figure out ways to write these laws, at least require lots more disclosure or something.
Yeah.
But you can also say, look, I will publicly state that I don't want my kid to do that.
Right.
And Hunter says that he and his father talked about it. And he said, I hope you know what you're doing. And he said, I do. Which there's no evidence throughout his life that you should trust him on that.
Yeah.
But the Biden camp says, no, actually, they never talked about it.
Right. And Biden himself says we never once discussed our foreign business dealings. And I think I'm particularly dubious.
And ultimately, what did Bernie Sanders do when his son ran for Congress in New Hampshire?
Didn't even endorse him.
Harsh.
Right.
Stayed out of it.
But you can do that.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, you can. Thank you so much for joining us,
It's amazing, by the way, that you have all that in your head.
Yeah,
That was
right. I know. I was
watch.
wow.
Ryan, thank you. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
And we'll have more Rising after this.